Good morning, students. Welcome back. So, we've already learned about figures of speech before, right? The figurative language, figures of speech. Till date, we have completed 3 parts. Today, we're going to discuss the fourth part, part 4. Okay. So far we completed this many figures of speech. Let's once again look at the pronunciation of each. Simile, metaphor, personification, climax, pun, interrogation, alliteration, repetition, apostrophe, anticlimax, antithesis, oxymoron, tautology, exclamation, litetes, transferred epithet, hyperbole, euphemism. This many we have completed, right? Today we are going to learn about 4 new figures of speech. They are metonymy, synecdoche, inversion, onomatopoeia. Okay, so this 4 we are going to discuss today. Now let's begin. What does this picture tell you, students? When you look at this picture, one man is standing, the other one is bowing, right? Is it so? Think out of the box. We're talking about figurative language over here. You can see, look closely, one man who's standing is holding a pen in his hand, and the other one who is bowing, right, has a sword behind it, besides him. What does this indicate, students? That the pen is mightier than the sword. You can see both are equal, but still we are using one in the place of other. So what is it? We are trying to say that written words are more effective than military power or swords. You know that, and we have learnt about this. So this is the example of metonymy, students. We use metonymy to substitute something or someone for something else that's similar. Okay? No need to get confused. We'll look at one more example to understand it better. The White House declared that we are at war with Mars. Now here, student, White House is a building, right? It cannot declare, it cannot speak. Okay? But here White House is used as a metonymy. Let's look at one more example. After leading a rebellion, he seized the throne. Now throne is again a chair, you know that. But here what is trying to indicate? Let's look at both the examples and what's the metonymy over here. The White House is a metonymy for the President of the US. Means it's talking that the President of US declared that we are at the war with Mars. Now here, if you say White House, it is understood that we are talking about the President of the US. And in the second example, when you say throne, you mean the ultimate power, the absolute power or kingship, right? So metonymy is used as a substitute to someone or something for something else that is similar. Hope this is clear, students. That's metonymy for you. Let's look at synecdoche. What is synecdoche? Synecdoche can be used as a literary device in order to refer to a whole by just referencing a part or that thing. Means in place of the entire thing, we are just referring to its part. Okay, that's synecdoche. What does that mean? Like, let's see these 4 faces. Don't look at the faces, just look at the examples. I have 4 mouths to feed at home. Now 4 mouths. So what are we talking about? Is it a living thing? Like mouth is just a part of what, student? What is it trying to indicate? That I have 4 family members to feed at home. So here mouth is the part which is used to represent the people, the whole thing, the entire person. So that here it's trying to say that I have 4 people at home whom I have to feed. So we are not referring to the person, entire person, but we are just referring to mouth as a part. So this is synecdoche. Now you must be thinking that before also we did that substitution here also, that is replacing some or the other thing? No, there is a difference. So many a time we get confused between metonymy and synecdoche. So what is the basic difference? Let's try to understand that. Metonymy does not necessarily have to be a part of the object it is comparing, but synecdoche does. What does that mean? Metonymy, when we say, students, when we are using something, it is not necessary that it is part of that particular thing. Okay? But synecdoche has to be the part of that particular thing. Let's say example, suits. Now when we say suits, we refer to the business people because they are wearing it, right? When we see people in black suit, we know that they are boss or they are business people, or they are going in somewhere in meeting. So we refer to the business people when we refer to suits, but not necessary that that is a part of the people, right? It's just the thing which we can replace, we can use in substitution. Okay, but that's metonymy for you. But when we say bread, so bread is the part which represents food, it's a representing food, it's a part of a food. So when you say bread, you mean synecdoche. Okay, students, so this is the basic difference between metonymy and synecdoche. Okay, so remember this. Great. Now let's look at the third one, inversion. What do you mean by inversion? It is a term which is used to refer to the inverting of the normal word order in a sentence or phrase. When we say simply, like right now I'm using this sentence, you feel that it is sounding so normal, so clear, it's the normal proper order. But when you change it, when you convert the sentence, you change a little bit order, then that's inversion. Inverting, it itself says, right? Inverting. Now, why do writers use it? Obviously, they want to, when rhyme something in their poem, that time they use this inversion, right? Or they want to emphasize on something in a word, in a sentence, or in a prose. When they want to emphasize on something, that time they use the inversion method. And students, you also need to remember one thing, anastrophe is another figures of speech, so you do not have to get confused. They both are same, inversion or anastrophe. Let's look at the examples of inversion to understand it better. First example is, in silent night when rest I took. Now when you listen this sentence, immediately the thought comes in your mind, it should be in silent night when I took rest, right? But here the little order is changed, when rest I took. So it immediately catches your attention that something is changed here, right? So then you look at, and then you read it again. So that is what the poet is trying to do over here. By inverting, they are trying to emphasize on that particular idea, thought, or a word, right? And maybe it is rhyming with the above or the below the next line. Let's look some more examples. Shocked I was. Now generally we say I was shocked, I am shocked, right? But here shocked I was, sounds different. Inverting the sentence, inverting particular word in a sentence. Next, tomorrow will come the decision. The decision will come tomorrow is the normal word order. Here things are changed. So we want to emphasize on the decision. So it is changed. Persuade you. I shall persuade you. Okay. So I hope this is clear to you. What is inversion? Great. With the practice you'll come to know. It's very easy. Whoosh. Tick-tock. Splash, crash, chirp, meow, oink, boink. Now what does this indicate, student? These are all the sounds, right? You generally hear the cat meow, and that's also a word. So what are we talking about here? Onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia means the formation of a word from a sound. Now meow is not the word, it's actually a sound that cat makes. Splash, something falling in the water. So that's a sound which you hear. So when that kind of sound is turned into word, that's onomatopoeia, the which evokes actual sound of the thing they refer to or describe. Okay, so whoosh, when somebody, like when a superman or when something flies like that, that sound is made. When there is the tick tock, or the phone when it rings, so what kind of a sound it makes. When the bell rings, what kind of sound it makes. They are all sounds, but it's now formed in a words. So that's onomatopoeia for you students. Great. So these four figures of speech are done here. Practice and you'll come to know the difference, and you'll be able to use it on your own. Okay students, hope this is clear. So figures of speech, all the four parts are done here. We'll be soon sending you the notes and the fair book exercise. Practice. Until then, have a very good day. Take care.